Hello, Lily and Isabella here.
And I'm JJ Brown, Jennifer Brown, and we're going to talk about PKU, Phenylketonuria.
Yep.
So, Lillian, as my daughter, I'm going to ask you a question I've never asked you before.
Okay.
How does it feel to have people say or to think that you have a rare disease?
It's interesting. I think that my whole life, knowing that I've had a rare disease or disorder, has made me feel self-conscious a little bit, because I always know that there's something slightly different about me than everybody else that I go to school with, for the most part, especially around mealtime. But then I would sort of quickly overcome that, and I would find people actually very supportive in school. And can you eat that? Wait, does that have cheese? And they'd actually become like almost like more vigilant than I was in vocalizing that I had PKU. They would tell other people I had PKU in a protective way, and so it really actually, there was a sense of community after a while, like that they wanted to protect me, kind of.
I think some of your friends became advocates.
Yeah, that's a great word for it.
Yeah.
That I've always been very open about the fact that I have PKU, and I tell everybody that I have PKU, and I tell them exactly what PKU is, a very long explanation about how it's a metabolic disorder. I can't break down the amino acid phenylalanine, which is found in things high in protein, and then I list the litany of things that I can't eat. It got to the point in high school where I had a friend who would be like, hold on, let me do it for you. And she'd like do my little spiel.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you're right, that an advocate's a really great way to describe that, because I was so vocal myself, I helped educate other people around me, my friends, and then they became somebody who spoke about PKU with authority and knowledge and knew what they were talking about, which is kind of cool to see happen.
And then friends and family sometimes can advocate for you, but there's a time when a child can't advocate for themselves and can't really even describe how important diet is, and those are those early years. So
Yeah.
how did you manage when you went to school? Like when you started school, what do you remember about keeping on diet so that your phenylalanine levels would remain low toward normal?
I went to public school my whole life until college, and actually you helped me a lot with staying on diet. My mom would pack me lunches, so I would always have like the things that I could eat kind of bundled together. I do remember really funny, just thinking other people were weird when I first started school. Like when I was in kindergarten, I remember this very vividly. It's like maybe my first realization that other people ate differently than me. I was sitting in a cafeteria for lunch, or maybe it was breakfast, and this kid sitting across from me was pouring milk into his cereal. And I had this moment where I was like, you eat wet cereal? And I thought it was the most disgusting thing ever. And the kid looked at me and he's like, you eat dry cereal? And I was like, yes. But it was this moment where I was like, oh, there's a difference here. And I think that was the first time that I was really made aware of how different my diet was. Because other people shortly thereafter backed that kid up, like that it was weird to eat dry cereal. And now, of course, you can use almond milk, and we can eat wet cereal if we want to, but I just never did. So, and I hadn't heard of that at that time, because whole milk we can't have. So, that's just the first moment that I remember where I was kind of like, something is different here, you know. But yeah, I think that it was helpful that you always packed me meals, and I had a babysitter, and you always packed them food to give me later. So it was very like charted, planned, and I always loved my shake actually. So, and it did hurt my feelings when people would say, oh, that smells weird, or that's a weird color. People would often say that about my shake.
So the shake is something that replaces all the protein that a normal person's diet would provide them in the way of from beans or lentils or cheese or meat or fish. But the shake has all the amino acids a protein would give your body to be healthy, except phenylalanine, which for people with PKU, phenylketonuria, phenylalanine is a toxin, and it accumulates in the blood and brain and causes neurologic damage if it builds up. If you keep it low through special diet, then the health is no issue. So I think the shake and accepting the shake was critical to having like a successful diet.
Yeah, and I think because I liked it so much and I knew how important it was to me, I just thought that they were idiots when they said it smelled bad or looked weird. I was like, well, screw you, this is good for me, you know.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
But I'm curious, what was your thinking when you had to like kind of let me go to school and not be right under your wing? What was your, how did you deal with that? What were your steps you took? How did you prepare me? How did you prepare yourself? What was that like?
I think that the moment of letting my children who had PKU go into a public school setting was like a big river to cross. So I had to build a little bridge. So the bridge was that I got very prepared. So I made lots of good things that you loved every day and sent them with you. But I also had to talk. I had to talk with you. I had to talk with your sister.
Different than talk.
And I had to talk with your teacher. So I would talk to every teacher you had, and I didn't go when you were there. I went when you weren't there. So I went and visited your teachers before you entered a class, all the way up through 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I would go in and talk to the teacher. Hi, I'm Jennifer Brown. I'm a geneticist. My daughter is Lillian Rodriguez. She has an inherited genetic disease called PKU, and they'd be like, huh? They would have no idea what I was talking about. So I would say, she can't ever have any kind of protein in your class. No peanuts, no cheese, so if you want to give out snacks and whatnot, that's cool, but she can only have the snacks I send. And it's really important because if she's not on her diet, she can get very sick. And they would almost always say to me, oh, she's allergic to nuts. And I'd be like, well, it's like that. It's like that, but she's not allergic, so it's not an emergency. So you don't ever have to worry about calling the doctor or something like that. But it's very critical to her being able to learn in your classroom and have a clear mind and a healthy life to have just the food I send with her. So I didn't go through the list and say she can have fruit, she can have this, she can have that. I just said she can't have food at school. She has to have her own food. And then it would happen sometimes that at the lunchtime, one of the lunch ladies, I think there was a time when like one of you or your sister forgot your lunch.
Okay.
And the lunch ladies went all over the lunchroom trying to find things that you guys could eat, apples and this and that. So
you talked to the
talked to the lunch ladies as well. I would go in one day at lunch and find the aides and be like, hey, my daughter has a special diet. I send her my food from home. It's a special medical diet. And so I actually talked to the teachers. Then I never talked to them again. I didn't go back. I didn't check up. I didn't make a fuss. If there was an error or something happened, we dealt with it, us talking. But I did do the initial visit with the teacher each time, all the way up through 6th grade. That's a long time. At that time you think maybe you don't want to be talking to teachers anymore, but I always did, just to make sure that they knew that you having your lunch and your snacks was important, and that was, you were not to share. So I think if I were to say, if you're a parent and you have a child who has PKU and they're about to go to school, don't worry, just prepare their snacks, prepare things that they love, that other children will think are normal and good, like little cut up vegetables that are brightly colored, little snack crackers that are special for PKU kids that they can have. And I think, just being super prepared all the time with lots of stuff that's at the ready is helpful.
And also, they've come a long way with shake now, so there's a lot of, I call it shake, it's the metabolic formula that we drink. They've come a really long way with it now, to the point where it smells good a lot of the time. Like now I have an orange cream flavored one, and it's bright orange and festive looking. And they've got chocolate ones, so I think that's less of an issue now.
As well, so many people are having protein shakes, so it got to the point where instead of calling it the formula, we started to call it the shake. It is essentially a protein shake without phenylalanine, one of the amino acids in it. Other than that, it's just like a protein shake.
So when people ask me, is that a protein shake? I'll be like, something like that, yeah.
Kind of.
It's easier explanation.
Yeah, so I think preparation and normalization. So being prepared and making it seem normal, normalizing it is very helpful.